Hey yo, mic check, 1 2 1 2. You know what it do? I'm finna goddamn read this book. Sorry. Alright. So I've already read into this book a little bit. I actually cannot find where I left off at. But figured I'd try to start something new, you know. Got that armor of God, know what I'm saying? Got that Christ consciousness going, you feel me? I ain't never seen this before, but we're gonna try it out. Got that beautiful beautiful ass sky going down. But yeah, anyways, the premise of this video and maybe this series or whatever it is, I'm gonna read out loud a book, and as I'm reading, I'll provide commentary on what I'm reading. Really, this is kind of a personal journal to myself that I can refer back to as well. But it'll also suffice as content for the channel, Juju Raw. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read this book, and as I'm reading, I'll provide commentary on what I'm reading. You know, that way it's said and it's put into the ethers as to what I'm saying, and it's embedded in me subconsciously, right? And if you're hearing it, it'll then be embedded in you subconsciously, whether you know it or not. And whether you ever consciously choose to revive this fucking shit that I'm saying in the future and have any kind of correspondences to whatever you may be studying in your study. Kind of sucks. I wish I could read more and have a better medium for everything. As far as one day it'll work out. But you know, right now I gotta do what I do, you know. At home, I definitely have the space to do it, but it's just finding the time. Once I'm home, I got a family at home, so once I get home, my attention isn't focused on trying to read books even as much as I want to, or my other passion, which is lifting weights, as much as I want to. I have a lot of more other important priorities in life right now than what I want to do. So, but I got some free time right now, so I'm gonna get into reading this, starting this chapter 3. Chapter 3, the mixing bowl of the Serpent Grail by, I forgot his name, I think it's Philip Gardner. See, as you can tell, I already have some highlights in here, not too much. Not too much, but I got some. I lost the fucking highlighter that was in this goddamn book, and I'm too lazy to ever bring one out to read this book during my study of this book. And I say study of this book, I'm kind of exaggerating. I kind of just read it and try to absorb as much as I can in that moment that I'm reading it. And, you know, just, you know that it's embedding itself in my subconscious. And it'll reveal itself to the importance of my life when my soul deems it so, or when my spirit deems it so, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, let me try to get this this author again. The Serpent Grail, the truth behind the Holy Grail, the Philosopher's Stone, and the Elixir of Life. God damn. By Philip Gardner. And this was a book recommended by Brother Panic of Occult Lectures. You know, he's had a great impact on my spirituality and the way I view life in this reality, as well as other people such as Brother Yusuf from New Life Tools, NU space LYFE space TOOLS, Brother Panic Occult Lectures, OCCUT space Lectures, and Skeptical Spiritualist. Another one. It's kind of a long one. I'm not spelling that. Sorry. Skeptical Spiritualist, but I ain't spelling that shit. And, another guy I used to watch who was just fucking disappeared. He, like, his Instagram, just, like, he stopped posting on Instagram. Still there right before I deleted Instagram. But the Rogue Titan, you can find his work as well. There's plenty of other people. I've watched Ashira, I believe her name is. Ashira. Who else? A lot of different people. I've watched Mind Unveiled, people from all sorts of backgrounds and races and ethnicities. Another one I watched, Library of Untold. He's got some good stuff. And I just discovered another one. He's got different videos. But and he has a Saturn video. A video on Saturn. And the whole psychology and spirituality and psychological meanings and spiritual meanings and historical and metaphysical meanings of Saturn. And it's fucking wild, dude. Like, the different archetypes that were placed upon Saturn throughout the civilizations is just, and the psyche is fucking wild. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to be reading this book, Chapter 3, The Mixing Bowl. I've already read Chapter 1 and 2, but I figured this might be a good way to get some content and read at the same time. So fuck it, let's do them. So this book, I've read, Chapter 1 is Alpha and Omega. Chapter 2 is Mixing of the Opposites. Chapter 3, The Mixing Bowl. And I'm going to be reading The Mixing Bowl right now. Chapter 3, The Mixing Bowl. According to Walter... Alright, I should be good now. I done deleted like motherfucking... It says I got 44 gigabytes of fucking... 44 gigabytes... Sorry for the spit. Of storage left. So did I show that? I didn't show my son. Alright, cool. Let's restart this. Chapter 3, The Mixing Bowl. The Serpent Grail by Philip Gardner. According to Walter Skeet, the etymologist, the old French Grail and Grazal meant flat dish. Skeet claimed that the word was a corruption of the Low Latin cratilla, meaning a small bowl or crater, from the Greek crater, which means mixing bowl. If the Grail were indeed a mixing bowl of some sort, what was mixed in it? When we discussed Eschenbach's neutral angels, we suggested that these angels were the personification of the third force, and that is the third force was also symbolized by the Holy Grail, which angels were said to have carried from heaven to earth. We have seen that this force manifests at the neutral point between opposites, and this mixing together of opposites can be illustrated by the figure of the androgyne, Androgyne. The Grail was the bowl in which these opposites were mixed together. We will see later that the mixing of opposites also applied to the mixing of certain physical substances in a real bowl. In the medieval period, the mixing of substances was an integral part of the work of the alchemist. The alchemist's mixture was the same as mixed in the Grail, producing the elixir of life and the alchemical philosopher's stone. The link between alchemy and the Grail can be seen in the 13th century of Wolfram and von Eschenbach. Furthermore, Eschenbach, the author of the Grail romance Parsifal, is known to have visited the Templars in Outremer, the Holy Land, which suggests a direct link between the Grail myths and the Templars. Indeed, it is beyond doubt that the Templars had a significant influence on the writings of the Grail myths. Helenon, the most frequently quoted medieval author of the subject of the Grail, was greatly influenced by Bernard of Clairvaux, the same Bernard who had been personally responsible for obtaining the papal rule for the Knights Templar. There were also profound links between Bernard's monastic monastic order, the Cistercians and the Nazarenes, who fought and died for Jerusalem in AD 70. I keep wanting to say Cistercian like a C-section, but the Cistercians wore white robes, as did the Nazarenes, and so did too the Knights Templar before adding their red cross. There was also another link between the medieval Cistercians and the Nazarenes, which we will explain later. See page 97. From evidence we're accumulating, it was becoming increasingly clear that the Grail romances, through their association with the Templars, were based on earlier allegorical stories that alluded to an ancient system of knowledge. That means there ain't no real motherfucking Holy Grail. That shit's a allegory, a metaphor, and symbology for something that's deep inside of you, which we'll get to later, either in this video or in another video. So let's continue on. Why? It is widely believed that the name Templar derives from the Temple of Solomon. This, however, is the only exoteric meaning of the name. Its esoteric meaning is connected with time. A Templar was thus named exoterically because of his association with the temporal world, and esoterically because of his knowledge of the worlds outside time, i.e. his shamanic knowledge of worlds where time ceases to exist, the underworld, heaven, and the esoteric eternal now. I'm going to reread that because I kind of just read that shit. And that's probably going to happen a lot when I'm doing these kind of videos too, because I'll just be reading, but not absorbing and digesting what I just read. I'm going to read this again. A Templar was thus named exoterically because of his association with the temporal world, and esoterically because of his knowledge of the worlds outside of time, i.e. his shamanic knowledge of worlds where time ceases to exist, the underworld, heaven, and the esoteric eternal now. So Templar, according to this shit, might mean might have a relation to the word time, in which you call yourself a Templar, which has the correspondence, there's no mights, this is absolute, which has the correspondence to being outside of time, i.e. the shamanic knowledge of worlds where time ceases to exist, like the underworld, heaven, and the eternal now, this moment right here. So I'm a Templar too, motherfucker, because I deal with all that shit. And the underworld is just another word for your subconscious. I deal with my subconscious almost all the fucking time. I try to delve deep into that motherfucker every day. I try, at least. Through meditation, closing my eyes, and just really fucking deep thinking about the shit that I think affects me in life. The whys of everything, you know? And I get deeper with those whys. Questioning why on everything. Heaven. Everybody's trying to get to heaven, live a better life, you know? And the eternal now, I try to stay in that motherfucking moment. You know, like I try to embrace every emotion I'm feeling in the moment, you know. You know, in this patriarchal, masculine ran society, you know, you're taught to shut down your emotions and don't think about what you're feeling. Just shut them down, stuff them down, let them bottle up till they fucking explode. And you go do who knows what to how many people. But yes, as a man, you are supposed to embrace your masculine qualities inside of you predominantly over your feminine. Because as a fucking man, you're supposed to do what a man's supposed to do and take care of his family and provide and protect. But at the same time, it's okay to feel your feelings and your emotions. And if you don't want, if you don't have the courage to do that in front of someone you trust, then do it by yourself. But you gotta feel your emotions. You gotta live in that moment and feel what you're feeling, and understand why you're feeling what you're feeling. You gotta get to the root of it. Let's continue. The name Templar is also associated with the human. That's why I love this book, because it gives you correspondences and associations with shit, you know? The name Templar is also associated with the human body, which has been described as the true temple of God or temple of the spirit. The Temple of Solomon was based on the human body, and as Schwaller de Lubitsch, the Egyptologist and esotericist, has demonstrated, so were many ancient Egyptian temples. Everything always goes back to motherfucking Egypt. It's crazy, you know? No matter what, everything goes back to Egypt. Or like the fucking ancient motherfucking civilizations like the Olmecs, the Mayans, the Aztecs, Egypt, Sumeria. As far as the chronology of all that shit, I can't tell you, you know. I don't know. And before Egypt, you know, there was, I think, Akhmet or Kemet, you know what I'm saying? Like, before that, don't ask me, because I haven't delved that deep. But yeah, you know, everything always goes back to Egypt. And as far as, like, on the Western Hemisphere, in the Americas, the Olmecs is what it seems to be. The Olmecs is pretty much the Egyptians of the Americas. That's if you believe we're not already in motherfucking Egypt. You know, because there's theories about that too. You got motherfucking places in Texas named Paris. You got Egypt, Texas. Paris, Texas. And like, you got all kinds. You got Memphis, Tennessee. But there's a Memphis in Greece, if y'all didn't know that. Like, who's to say we're not all in the same shit? Like who's, like, I don't know, bro, but some weird shit going on with these city names. Alright. The Temple of, I'm going to backtrack the sentence I just read. The Temple of Solomon was based on the human body. And as Schwaller de Lubitsch, the Egyptologist and esotericist, has demonstrated, so were many ancient Egyptian temples. Really, motherfucker? The Holy of Holies, the inner sanctum of a temple, corresponds with the so-called third eye, which is itself associated with three organs found within the head or the brain. They are the pineal and the pituitary glands, which are said to correspond respectively to the masculine and feminine opposites, and the thalamus, at the center of the brain. I'm going to reread that real quick. The Holy of Holies, the inner sanctum of a temple, corresponds with the so-called third eye. The Holy of Holies, the inner sanctum of a temple, corresponds with the so-called third eye, which is itself associated with three organs within the head or brain. They are the pineal gland, pituitary glands, which are said to correspond respectively to the masculine and feminine opposites, and the thalamus at the center of the brain. Towards the end of the previous chapter, we suggested that the Grail corresponded with the expanded sphere of consciousness entered into by the shaman during the trance state journey. This sphere of consciousness has its physical counterparts or correspondences in the spherical shapes found in the natural world. The planet Earth, the womb, the head, the egg, the atom, etc. Moreover, it was believed to have up to 7 concentric levels, just as we find in the atom, which has up to 7 inner orbits called electrons. Knowing that he could alter his own sphere of consciousness by journeying within it, the shaman believed that if he could penetrate to the very nucleus of the sphere of consciousness, he could also alter or transform these physical spheres. The belief that he could do this came from the awesome power he felt during the enlightenment experience, which is itself related to the pineal, the pituitary, and the thalamus. We shall be returning to these 3 important organs later. Page 83. Fucking guy. Alright. So pretty much we summed up in that. We were talking about the Templars and how the etymology of the Templar can be associated with so many different things, one including time and how to be outside of time. We talked about the Temple of God, or the Temple of Solomon, the soul of man, right? You've heard that. I'm sure if you've been into spirituality at any point, You've heard of that. Solomon being the soul of man. Temple of God, which is yourself. You are the temple of Solomon. We talked about the Holy of Holies, which would be considered the inner sanctum of any temple. The center of any temple would be considered the Holy of Holies, which corresponds to the so-called third eye. So another thing we discussed here. What else did we discuss? Talked about the shamanistic journey into the sphere of consciousness and how the sphere of consciousness corresponds to many different shapes of the natural world, such as the planet Earth, the womb, the head, the egg, the atom, etc. Again, in regards to the atom, we also discussed that, moreover, it was believed to have up to 7 concentric levels as far as the sphere of consciousness, believed to have up to 7 concentric levels, just as we find in the atom, which has up to 7 orbits called electron shells. So that's that on the beginning of chapter 3, the mixing bowl, speaking on some basic things about Templars, the Holy Grail, Egyptology, pineal, pituitary glands, thalamus, spheres, consciousness, and so on. Or etymology of Templar, possibly, or at least correspondences with the etymology of Templar. I'm going to pause this video real quick, and I'm going to get back to the second section of this chapter, the Grail and its 3 levels. Just give me one moment, and I'll be back, playa. All right, I'm back, fools. Okay, fool, we're going to continue with the next fucking part of the chapter, the Grail and its 3 levels, fool. Oh. Long motherfucking day at work. I like this though. I'm getting my reading done. I'm getting content made, you feel me? I'm getting a message put out there, I'm getting a word put out there, so I can dig this. I like this, so. And I don't got no highlight or nothing, but I can refer back to this fucking video. So that's what's up too. Let's continue. The Grail and its 3 levels. Where are we at? I still got like 30 minutes. So, let's go. At a particular stage in our research, we felt it necessary to divide our perceptions of the Grail into 3 levels. These correspond to the triad encountered in the teachings of the various esoteric mystery schools and in the trinities or triads of gods found in many of the world's religions. They also correspond to the 3 cosmic zones of shamanic tradition, as well as the New Age triad of body, mind, and spirit. By adopting the esoteric principle of the triad and applying the Grail myth to it, we found that we were able to explain a great deal about history and about ourselves in terms of physiology and consciousness. Not psychology, physiology. As well as about the seemingly dual nature of reality. We devised the accompanying diagram, see figure 6, which also incorporates the world mountain and the world pillar to illustrate the 3 levels of the Grail. But before we look at these 3 levels, we shall give a brief explanation of the diagram. And this is the figure 6 they're talking about. I know it's reversed. It's reversed to me right now, so I hope it's adjusting itself right, on your end at least. All esoteric systems believe that the male animus and the female anima, positive and negative opposites in the individual, inside yourself, animus and anima, should ascend together to the neutral point or spirit at the apex of the triangle of that diagram I just showed you, where they become neutralized and fused as one. Carl Jung, whose theories we will look at in a moment, was convinced, as many are today, that this union was the core principle behind the great work of alchemy, which is really one's work upon oneself. Alchemy ain't a motherfucking thing. You could really do it. You could really, what's that one, Migos? Look at the Rick. Look at the, what's that? The one like, Hey, they be doing alchemy up in them pots, you know what I'm saying? That baking soda, you know what I'm saying? I'm in love with the cocoa. That's alchemy right there, boy. Y'all motherfuckers think y'all doing alchemy with some fucking leaves and goddamn. Nah, they be doing alchemy to make that cocaina. Yeah, but alchemy is really one's work upon oneself. Transmutation within yourself. Changing and evolving within yourself. If you do anything on the outside, it's only to influence what's happening on your inside so that you can then project what you want in the outside and manifest in the outside. If you do anything on the outside, it's not because you actually think a motherfucking spirit's gonna come through and be like, hey, yo, you need to win this fucking legal case, bruh. I got you, fam. I fucking got you, fam. Okay, don't fucking worry about it, done. Don't fucking worry about a goddamn motherfucking thing, huh? I fucking got you, huh? You're part of the familia, huh? Forget about it, huh? Fucking forget about it. Nah, bro, you doing that shit on the outside so that you can internalize it and then project it outward. Since we live in a holographic universe anyways, and you got the projector inside of you right here. It's actually happening back here. You absorb that light, it gets whatever it does inside, and then it reflects back out. Actually, everything you see, you're absorbed in the fucking... Everything you see is really fucking upside down. You absorb it upside down. Your eyes intake that information upside down, and your brain does neurological processes to flip that shit right side up, according to us, and then project it back outward, and that's what you motherfucking see. Anyways, the theme of the red and white, which are male and female divisions in our diagram, occurs frequently in esoteric literature and symbolism, sometimes with the non-color black, which here signifies the neutral point at the apex of the triangle. In the course of our research, we found the theme of the red, white, and black was encoded in many of Nicholas Poison's paintings. It is also present in Christian Eucharist and the white communion bread or wafer and the red wine, which are combined with the chalice when the bread is dipped in the wine, thus symbolizing the union of opposites. You got the white bread dipping into the red wine, and that's creating the union of the masculine and feminine principles that you're going to eat. I don't know if y'all can still hear me. I'm going to pause I'm going to end this video and continue. I'm going to have to merge these motherfuckers, but I'm going to end this video and then continue. So, give me 1 second. All right, I'm back. So, I was rewatching the fucking, what I just read about the red, white, and black shit. And, God, I fucking hate hearing myself talk. But it is what it is because, I got that voice of God with me. So my voice is divine regardless of how I feel it sounds. You know? But anyways, we all do. Everybody's got the voice of God, the voice of the divine within them. They just got to learn to love it regardless of how they think it sounds to their own ears. It probably sounds like fucking God speaking through the burning bush to somebody else. But let's go. Let's continue. Let's see. I think I'm gonna just start from the chapter. The paragraph that I was reading about the red, white, and black. The theme of red and white, which are male and female divisions in our diagram, occurs frequently in esoteric literature and symbolism, sometimes with the non-color black, which here signifies the neutral point at the apex of the triangle, which was this right here. The red, the white, and the black. In the course of our research, we found that the theme of the red, white, and black was encoded in many of Nicholas Poison's paintings. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but I don't give a fuck. It is also present in Christian Eucharist and the white communion bread or wafer and the red wine, which are combined in the chalice with when the bread is dipped in the wine, thus symbolizing the union of opposites. These three colors correspond with the three phases of the cycle we described earlier. Red, positive phase; white, negative phase; and black, neutral point or zero node. The red and white also corresponds to the two etheric nerve channels or meridians, nadis, that are said to align the spine in the traditional Hindu Physio-Kundalini chakra system. I'm not that well versed. I'm not that well versed on that Kundalini. I know about it, basics of it, but I'm not well versed in it. So it kind of went over my head a little bit. These two channels, hold on. The red and white are also correspond to the two etheric nerve channels or meridians, nadis, that are said to align the spine in the traditional Hindu Physio-Kundalini chakra system. So they're talking about Physio-Kundalini chakra system. Physio means body, so they're trying to apply science to the Kundalini. Not trying to, they are applying science when they're speaking about the anatomy and physiology of the body and how it applies to the Kundalini within the body, which is a real thing. A real deal motherfucking thing. Kundalini. They say put a fire on that ass. They're talking about putting the fire. They're talking about initiating the fire, in the Kundalini fire in the root chakra. So just take that and research on that. These two channels are the Pingala, positive male red, and the Ida, negative female white. And they cross each other several times along the central Sushumna nerve channel, which is zero, null, or neutral, and therefore usually depicted as black. Situated along the spine are 7 vertices or chakras. Chakra equals wheel. The centers of these chakras are where the two nadi channel cross, canceling each other out like nodes, like the nodes in a standing wave. These two nerve channels are symbolized by the two serpents that spiral around the staff of Hermes, also known as the caduceus, a powerful symbol that we will examine more in depth later. See page 79. And he's referring to this right here. So I think he's talking about the red and white. You got the white going right there, and up, and up, and up. Then you got the red starting down here, up, turn. And then you got the black at the neutral points where they meet. Or they meet at the chakra point, it looks like. And if you were to look at it, you got the caduceus symbol. Got the wangs, you know, coming down. But if you watch Brother Panic and you learn about a cur, then that could be something else too. It's all about correspondences and different meanings for different things, and making them all work together. The 7 chakras correspond with the 7 levels of reality, often referred to in esoteric literature and teachings, and with the 7 concentric levels of the sphere of consciousness. These 7 levels are also echoed in the 7 sacraments of the Christian Church, of which the Eucharist is one. As we have just seen, this is itself based on the triad or trinity or anything like that. You view me? See what time it is. So nobody's gonna tell me what time it is? Give me 1 second. I got a little bit longer. I'm gonna read up to a certain point and then I'll probably stop the video right there. And this was figure 8 that it showed. As far as a standing wave, which if you stand it up like that, you got your Kundalini, boy. You stand it up like that, you got your Kundalini. If you add a little something up here, you got your caduceus. Alright, so the red and the white represent the male and female opposites, which are associated with the conscious and subconscious, respectively. Red signifies the fire element or heat of the sun in summer, associated with the male. White signifies the cooling water element and the snow in winter associated with the female. However, these are interchangeable in that each gender expresses both these colors. For example, the male produces white semen and the female red menstrual blood. So that's just another showing that no matter how masculine you think you are, you got some form of femininity, whether you know it or not, inside of you. And vice versa. No matter how feminine you think you are, how much of a feminist, how much of a, what these days is fake feminist you are, you've got a little bit of the masculine in you as well. As much as you don't want to admit that. Same for men and women. For example, the male produces white semen and the female red menstrual blood, which is why the female is also associated with the rich red lifeblood. We will find many allusions to these two prior properties in the myths we will be looking at. The black is associated with the unconscious, or indeed the collective unconscious, also the void, where both opposites, as signified by the red and white, the outer and the inner, become one and are neutralized. So pretty much the same, where the masculine and feminine meet, where the red and white meet, is the void. The black, the neutralization of the two polar opposites, the middle ground, the neutral zone. The significance of the crystal clear aspect of this neutral point in consciousness, as shown in our diagram, will become more apparent as we go on. Suffice to say that both the black and the crystal clear aspects of the unconscious can be explained through the analogy of a piece of carbon or coal being compressed into a crystal clear diamond. The esoteric diamond body is a metaphor for becoming superconscious. This analogy is clear when we remember that the physical body is mostly made up of carbon. A similar process can be seen in a heavy star, which at the end of its life will collapse in on itself, its mass being compressed down to a black hole and ultimately to a point of singularity. Because our psyche is divided between two opposites, our normal perception is limited and can be likened to a darkened tunnel-like view of reality. This view can be transformed during the enlightenment experience into a crystal clear point of illumined perception, the light at the end of the tunnel. The black void of unconscious becomes a sentient superconscious, in that its content, i.e., which normally lies beyond our own unconscious of its darkened and hidden part of our psyche, becomes empirically known and understood. Not overstood, understood. I'm going to read that line again. The black void of the unconscious becomes sentient. The black void of the unconscious becomes the sentient superconscious, in that its content, i.e., that which normally lies beyond our own unconscious of this darkened, hidden part of our own psyche, becomes empirically known and understood. It was believed that this experience could grant us the answers to everything. So if you submit to your own unconscious, and you become sentient, and it becomes sentient, you then evolve to the superconscious, which is believed that if you tap into this experience, it could grant you the answers to everything you have questions for. That you have questions for. That don't mean if you tap into this shit, you got the questions to everything. It's a personal experience. You have the questions, you have the answers to the questions that you have. And they might correlate with somebody else's questions that they may have with their life. You might be going through the same shit, but then they might not. And you might not know the answer to everybody's solution. And so you shouldn't act like you fucking know the answer to everybody's solution. This transformation, which is the result of our piercing the veil of unconscious and taking a peek at the light behind it, is the essence of the Grail and rebirth. That's the Holy Grail. So that you got the Grail in you. The Holy Grail is within you. Just like Jesus said, the kingdom is within. You don't gotta go to the motherfucking church. You are your church. You're the Temple of Solomon. What was it? What do you call it? You are the temple of God. You are the temple of the Spirit. You are the Holy Spirit. You find the answers within yourself, in your superconscious, otherwise known as your sentient unconscious. Now we will take a closer look at the 3 levels of the Grail, both in how they are experienced and the meaning they convey. I'm going to stop it right there. But, hold up. Let me see if I got more time. Guess what? I got more motherfucking time. The practical first level, the elixir of life. The first level of the Grail is tangible, physical, and also practical. Something which can be examined, measured, and tested. This is the first level, the physical plane, tangible. It's practical. You can make shit happen with it. As the Grail's positive aspect is associated with the masculine principle, and the physical body... I'm sorry, let me reread that. As the Grail's positive aspect, it is associated with the masculine principle and the physical body. At this first level, the Grail is a physical mixing bowl. In which is mixed an elixir used to heal the physical body. Though one of the secrets of this elixir, the elixir of life, pertains to the fact that while the Grail in itself is neutral, it also expresses a duality. It has the power to both cure and kill. Our research led us to discover that the original elixir of life was a combination of the snake, venom, and blood. So in a physical manifestation, that's what these motherfuckers thought that the Holy Grail was a mixture of snake venom and blood. Or at least the elixir of life, not the Holy Grail. The blood used is either that of the snake or blood taken from a mammalian horse or a human being that had been subjected to a series of snake bites or injections of venom. When the 2 elements were mixed together, snake venom and blood, the unique properties of the blood not only rendered the venom harmless, but also produced a powerful elixir. It was believed that if this was taken repeatedly, it could boost the body's immune system, cure most diseases, and even extend life. You would never read this motherfucking shit in medical school. This ain't medical advice, Don't fucking say nothing about, I told you to take some snake venom. But, who knows, I've never done it, so I don't know. Now that I read it, I might want to. And I'm not saying you should. What I am saying is don't believe everything you read and see and hear. How about you just read, see, and hear stuff for yourself instead of being fed shit? It is also possible that those who survived frequent snake bites would have built up an immunity against the venom and likewise maintained good health and immunity against disease and lived a prolonged life. You don't hear that shit. That's why you gotta read books, not just fucking watch YouTube videos. Let's get the fuck out of this video and go read a motherfucking book. No, I'm playing. Please watch my shit. What makes snake venom so deadly and yet also gives it its unique capacity for healing is its high levels of protein. Western science is currently doing all it can to break down the elements of the venom and use them individually in the treatment of specific diseases. However, for the ancients, it may well be that the dilution of the venom with the blood, which made it... Let me read that. However, for the ancients, it may well be that it was a dilution of the venom with the blood which made it a virtual cure-all. Indeed, a Chinese herbalist told us that the blood of a snake is added to soup and other foods to extend a good life. We have already referred to the link between the Grail and the Templars. The activities of the Templars were curtailed in 1307, and Jacques de Molay, the Grand Master of the Order, was burned at the stake in 1314. As the flames took hold, he is said to have cried out that his persecutors, Pope Clement and King Philippe of France, would join him within the year. Pope Clement was duly dead within the month, supposedly from a bout of dysentery, whatever that means, and King Philippe, by the end of the year, from causes which remain unknown. Although some say he was killed by a wild boar, the death of these two high-ranking figures was an example of the power of the Templars. I'm a motherfucking Templar. You're a Templar, if you believe you are. At least I got the power of a motherfucking Templar. For although they no longer existed in the name, they continued to exist in number. And it was well known that they were the proficient exponents of the art of poisoning, an age-old tradition that they had possibly discovered or rediscovered on their travels in the Holy Land, the land that has spawned, developed, and ritualized the ancient secrets of the Grail. We saw earlier how the shaman would use his stick and drum to send himself into a hypnotic state, the stick and drum representing the duality of opposites and the beating of their contact, the union of these opposites. The stick being the masculine principle, the stick, the phallus, and the drum being the oval symbol. Stick, drum, boom, 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 boom. And the beats of their contact, the union of these opposites, putting them in a hypnotic state. We all just put two and two together, motherfuckers. I ain't gotta explain shit. I've been robbing motherfuckers since the slave shit. We also mentioned that the trance state was sometimes initiated or facilitated by certain psychoactive drugs or substances. Could the elixir mixture have induced altered states of consciousness similar to the shamanic trance state? This idea was not entirely implausible, since the high levels of protein present in the snake venom would have provided a mental boost. We also discovered that in some instances the bowl in which the two ingredients were mixed was a human skull or skull cap. This led us to conclude that the mixing bowl or the grail itself symbolized a human skull, so the grail could be just a human skull. Furthermore, the mixing of the snake venom and the blood corresponded to the union of the two opposites, conscious and subconscious, thereby enabling the shaman to enter the underworld, which is the unconscious, the body of the world mother, and internal mixing bowl known as the grail. This leads us to the second level. And I'm going to end it there. But I'm going to reread that real quick. This led us to conclude that the mixing of the bowl or grail itself symbolized a human skull. Furthermore, the mixing of the snake venom and the blood corresponded to the union of the two opposites, the conscious and unconscious, thereby enabling the shaman to enter the underworld, which was what? The unconscious. So you're combining the polar opposites to enter the motherfucking unconscious so that you can fucking have the answers to all of your own personal questions, not everybody else's. So next one I'm gonna read is the mythical second level, the Grail. I'm gonna leave off there because I gotta start getting ready to do my daddy duties, you know, as a man should, be having that masculine principle. But yeah, I'm gonna come back at y'all with some more reading. I don't know when yet. This was a sporadic, in the moment type shit, you know. But I'm gonna happen. I like this. I'm getting my reading done. I'm getting content out, and I'm getting a message out for people to agree, disagree, or don't give a fuck about. You know, so I'll catch y'all on the flip. You know, if you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate it. If you listened to everything I said, I appreciate it. You know, if you could, you know, get this channel up and popping, you know, it is what it is. If not, it is what it is, you know. I stand at a neutral point, you feel me? I don't got a bone to pick with none of y'all. You know, I don't got no sides to pick. I ain't no Democrat, I ain't no Republican. I don't give a fuck. You know, whatever gets my pockets fatter, boy. Whatever gets my motherfucking pockets fatter, you feel me? Shit, that's all I give a fuck about is that motherfucking green. Why? Catch y'all motherfuckers later. Like, share, and subscribe this motherfucker. And if you do, appreciate it. If not, I don't give a fuck. Keep watching my shit, boy.